We're going to talk about Chainlink. Nice, simple, price predictions, when to invest. Let's go. So hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you are new, please do subscribe, hit the bell button, leave a like. It does help. So I'm hoping this video bangs, so make sure you do, basically the like button. It helps. So big, massive run so far, but I still think it's undervalued. People may think I'm barking mad, but I want to show you a chart that shows you that where it could go if we match certain levels in the BTC pair. So stick around, it's a good one. But if you've never looked at Chainlink, oracles, DeFi, smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain, also has integrations with Polkadot as well. It's relatively, well established essentially. So as you know what oracles are, they're essentially third-party data providers to enable things on chains essentially. So when you got a blockchain, you got smart contracts, it's basically a yes or a no or a concise decision. With an oracle, it will give you an input and an output of a statistical or a data point, i.e. has something won, has this done that, it gives it a bit more of a personality essentially. So relatively good for the world of DeFi. Moving on though, I don't want to bore you too much in terms of the technical jargon within this, but it's got a lot of partnerships, got a lot of use case, and it also has a lot of industry backing, which is kind of important, as you can kind of allude to here, which going through. But I don't want to do this as a technical video. As I mentioned though, it does have Polkadot and Chainlink integration via a substrate, which is important, so it's multi-chain as well. But we want to really talk today about potential where it could go, how big the ecosystem is, there's limitations maybe in terms of the Ethereum blockchain, but obviously counteracted essentially by what's on the page with Polkadot. So it's important to know where things can go. But in terms of the basics, there's a lot of supply that is kind of not on circulation because a lot of them are held by developers, but that is designed to be like that for development. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that becomes the reality. Moving on though, in terms of markets where you could buy this, if you've never heard of it before, Binance, Coinbase, it's freaking everywhere, to be honest with you. It is all over the shop. A lot of volume going through it at the moment, as you can see, 4 billion, but you can pretty much buy it everywhere. It also has multiple different currency pairs, which is kind of important. Market cap 11.5 billion, and I've often been critical of Chainlink, saying that it may not actually remain in the top 10. It may also be a quality asset, but there's a lot of DeFi space coins that are coming through, which could actually, take a bit of the rain off Chainlink, but that doesn't mean it's going to be unsuccessful. I've said the same about other coins as well, and we're starting to see some changes already in this top 10. Binance coin has kind of went, I'm in, hi everyone, welcome to the party sort of thing. The likes of Chainlink maybe might get pushed out with other DeFi coins, likes of Aave, the likes of Uniswap, maybe, and other coins out there such as Compound, and yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens as things mature. But let's talk about this chart first. So this is the one that I feel is often overlooked. I've mentioned this multiple times. We're just looking on the right hand side there to see what's happening in the market. But I've been often critical of talking to people about this sort of thing. A lot of people are finally getting it, the fact that the BTC pairing charts are the most important to look at. USD charts will always look better when Bitcoin's doing well. Just to give you a bit of an input of basic understanding, the BTC pair is going to be the overall nucleus, let's just say, of the price. So what you have here is Chainlink is worth 61,070 satoshis, give or take, right? On a nutshell, we'll just say 61,000 satoshis per Chainlink. When 61,000 satoshis is calculated, that is actually the current live price, which is roughly around $27. So when you think, if Bitcoin remains at say 45,000, and this goes up to those top levels of the previous alt season and trends back up to those levels, well, you're going to start seeing Chainlink being worth a lot more in value. If we just do a very, very simple analysis tool in terms of current live prices to where this top was, 178%. We'll just say 200%, just for argument's sake. That is basically going to essentially triple, which is quite scary in terms of value of what Chainlink is. So if you're thinking 27 times 3, you're looking at roughly $80 to $90 if Satoshi levels go to this point and also Bitcoin remains at a stable level. So Is it undervalued? Possibly. It looks good. But let's do some analysis on this chart. If we're doing top to bottom analysis on the daily time frame, this is what we've got. You know, we will do this on the weekly essentially, which will look the exact same, as you can see, just in a bit more detail. So what we're basically having here, it's looking neat and tidy. We've got some key levels to kind of make note of, but I do feel that we're obviously got some levels up here which we can obviously keep an eye on. 618 level, kind of important, a very, very big resistance point. But we've also had levels up at roughly these points where they have kind of, let's just say, went and tested in not too long ago, but actually come back down a little bit. So those are, in my opinion, the three main ones. We can put a little ray along here, little ray of sunshine, happy days. For me, that looks all right. You know, if we're looking at resistance levels for the future, they're decent, right? We could well eclipse all these and go even higher. It depends on how parabolic this goes. That would indicate that the dominance is going to drop of Bitcoin and altcoins will thrive. DeFi will thrive again, most likely even more than it already is, which is kind of important. But we have had a bit of a retracement, as you can see here. Now, what have we had here? We've had multiple taps to 618 levels. This could actually be the next sequence of this move, where we could be coming from basically this level and going up to these extension levels. These extension levels are going to be very, very important and going towards this 618 of the bigger time frame level. So there's all kinds of confluence between these levels in terms of, is the trend going to continue going up? Retracement, possible upside movement could be coming, and we may well be equaling some certain levels which are kind of important. If we stay on here, we don't close below that 382 level, we may actually see a 70% move up to that extension level at least. But that being said, 70% is quite a decent chunk, especially if Chainlink remains stable in USD prices, i.e. Bitcoin doesn't fuck it up. So that's basic analysis of that, okay? Very, very simple stuff. There's a potential 70% move there. Ultimately, top levels could be 178%. Very, very important you get a grasp of that. But let's move down a step. Actually, what we'll do is we'll put a little ticker on here to understand where things are kind of at, so we kind of understand. We can come back to this in the future of where that is like a monster key level there. Actually, just going to confuse things, isn't it? We'll just leave it as it is. It looks all right. So we have a potential level up here, but we could also literally be targeting that level. So the trend is kind of following that way as it stands. So providing this stays a support, we can continue. Moving on to obviously the BTC pair. The USD pair, sorry. It's looking really good. People will be like, oh my God, it's overvalued, it's overvalued. Well, maybe it is, but if when you look at that BTC pair, probably not. We have got multiple levels of confluence here between this and a potential area of where it could be topping out very, very soon. But that being said, if Bitcoin remains stable and things carry on going, we could actually just do the simple lines of this where we could just literally go and toggle some new extension levels, which essentially can work very, very nicely. Let me just make these in black so it kind of goes with the flow. 0.27, 0.27 and gold, happy days. We could actually be looking at these in the future levels, future extension points, $33, $36, $38, $41. But that being said, that is still much lower than potentially what we could be receiving in terms of the goal here of that BTC pair retracing and going higher than the previous levels from the last alt season. As I said, $80 to $90 could be very much happening very, very soon as a very, very realistic observation. I know there's other videos saying much higher, like $1,000, $500, but we've got to walk before we can run, or crawl before we walk, then before we run, essentially. So we've got all these kind of levels of confluence where people in price discovery mode will be like, I've never made this much money before, I might sell, I might panic, I might do whatever. The biggest problem is selling too early. You need to be able to scalp a little bit of profits off and then go from there and just take gradual bits out. But that being said, that's basic analysis of where we could be going. That's all we can realistically do. If this is a top, by the way, just to put a point out there, let's just make it from the other side just to kind of make an observation. If we're taking it from this bottom and going to this top, and this is the top, it obviously isn't, it's still an open candle, it's a weekly time frame. There's obviously levels at 41 and 34 up there as well. So be mindful of those levels. They may well be trigger points for people to brush off profits. But if we're looking long term here, and we are looking, I mean long term, just to put a bit of a price analysis on this, if we're looking, right, and we're thinking, right, what's happened here? This is basically, in my opinion, done a one-to-one retracement, right? Which has been pretty crazy. If we're going from this bottom here up to this top, it's literally done a one-to-one retracement. And where can we go? Extension levels could indicate we may well be going much higher. And if this is the swing and we're going to go and continue going up and maybe even up to these points higher than this, we've got to look at where the reserve levels can be. Now, if we're looking at, obviously, oh, I've done the wrong one there. Oopsie daisy. Let me just get that one. There we go. So we actually could be looking at a 4x. In my opinion, I think a 4x is definitely possible. 300% works out roughly 4 times your money. Now, if that is the case, we're looking at over $100, $120 plus for Chainlink, which in my opinion would be a pretty realistic and very, very achievable price point. If we're looking at that in terms of dominance, in terms of like market capitalization, that could well lead us to roughly 40 to 50 billion in market cap for Chainlink, which if the market continues to grow, as it is, 1.4 trillion in the market, DeFi is growing as we go, the likes of the Polkadot ecosystem is going to grow as well, we may well get more and more interest. So in terms of price points and price predictions, that is somewhat, in my opinion, pretty good. If you're buying in BTC pairing, it's undervalued. Even now, even today, if you've got a spare Bitcoin, it is somewhat undervalued at these price point levels. As you can see here, we've got multiple levels of resistance ahead of us, but we're also much lower. Unless Bitcoin goes on an absolute monster of a rally, this will most likely continue going up as the dominance drops because altcoins are starting to get that spillover right now. If we're looking at USD prices, yes, it looks more expensive, but again, this can continue to grow. We're starting to see that spillover happening. And what are we seeing? Well, that BTC dominance chart, it's continuing the downtrend. I had a pop up from the Elon Musk Tether kind of purchase. So it zipped right back down. That is a horrendous weekly candle, essentially. We may well be going lower. If it goes lower, full-blown bollocks to the wall, alt seasons here. And ultimately, those BTC pairs will get very, very tasty. So, hope you enjoyed it. See you again very, very soon.